Hey everyone, and welcome to the Doctors Are Running podcast, where we, a group of doctors of physical therapy, talk about the art and the science of the things that we're putting on our feet. Today, I'm honored to have Dr. Salas with me. I'm, as always, Matthew Klein, and we're going to get right into this, although we do have to acknowledge that this is the weekend before Thanksgiving, although when you're listening to this, is going to be long after the Thanksgiving week of 2024. But as always, the stereotypical runner question, David, are you going to be doing a turkey trot?
The last couple of years I haven't. And this year I was tossing it around back and forth. And then I was like, you know what? I've never done my hometown turkey trot. I've never done really much local races, period, out in Redlands. I've done it like one or two at this point over like years of being over there, right? Before moving out to Santa Barbara. And so I decided, yeah, I'll do it. So it's going to be off of short sleep. I'm going to be driving from here Wednesday night down there. So hopefully we get down there halfway smooth and then wake up early for the trot, and we'll just leave it out there and do the best we can for that 5K. But yeah, for the Redlands peeps, I'll be out there.
Sweet. And for those who don't know, you're driving from Santa Barbara all the way to Redlands, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to work a full day on Wednesday and then drive down. We usually try to have like a quick dinner, like we'll just like Chipotle or something Wednesday night and then hit the road,
Sweet. How long of a drive is that?
No traffic. Like if it's absolutely perfect, maybe like 2:45.
Oh, that's not happening.
Yeah. So Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, I mean, we might be getting there pretty late. So, yeah, it's literally gonna be a drive down there, get there late, wake up early, go hit a race. Like it's not ideal at all, but it'll be fun. I've never done it before, and I know those streets like the back of my hand. And I actually like where the start of the race is probably about 1.5 miles ish from my place, so I can just I could just warm up there. Warm up, do some strides, do the race, cool down home. Parents will probably just go drive down the street, get a little parking, and then
nice.
Watch it from there. So
sweet.
It should be good. So yeah, give me back in the 909 for a couple days there.
That should be great. So let's jump in to our topics.
Wait, you didn't answer. Are you going to be doing a turkey trot? You just dodging it?
Yeah, I'm having some mysterious health problems right now. I've been in and out of urgent care last week or two. So based on not knowing what's happening and not being at good health and having to cut a bunch of mileage and unknown fatigue and some weird systemic issues, don't know if there's any racing in my future for the moment until we can figure this stuff out. Regina's going to be racing.
Get better from being sick.
Yeah. So Regina will definitely be racing. So she's really excited to kind of test the Sherwood hometown vibes here. Ironically, she was like, "Oh no, like this it might be a little hilly." I'm like, we literally run workouts on the course in Sherwood on the route all the time. Like you're going to be fine. So if my body's okay, I'll probably be doing a workout with Isabella while I'm watching her, but I will not be racing for the foreseeable future, but Regina certainly will. So yeah, that's why I've tried to dodge the question. Awkward. So, all right, let's jump into this. So our first topic, ironically, is something I've wanted to talk about quite for some time, and we should actually debate this a little bit. So the first question on this buy or sell sheet, the episode that we're going to do, is buy or sell brands making shoes and trainers over 40 millimeters. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do have a little caveat on mine. I think it's a buy for me, but I don't think we should get out of hand with that. I think having a model, maybe two, over that stack height is fine. But I do think when you start seeing the flagship shoes being over 40 and then the premiums being over that, and like every shoe is now basically 40 plus, that feels like too much to me. To the point where it's like, if they offer a 30, it's like, oh, wow, look how low to the ground that shoe is. And it's like, it wasn't that long ago, 30 was pretty high. So I do think, and we were saying that kind of like with the A6 GT that one time, right? Like it's like mid 30s and it's like quote unquote moderate low, like compared to everything else. So I'm a buy because there are some people that really do well with having a lot of foam underfoot, and they like the feeling, they like the cushion. You can usually build in some pretty stiff rockers for people that need it. Like I think it is a buy, but I just don't want it to be out of hand to where everything is over 40.
I would agree with you. And I misspoke for the listeners and the viewers. I meant to say signature train. Do we need to have signature trainers over over
Like a
40
signature
millimeter?
being like
Yeah.
a New Balance 1080 or not 1080,
Yeah.
like an 880,
Yeah. Yeah.
Cumulus,
Yeah.
Mizuno Wave Rider, Nike Peg, those
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm assuming your answer still stands. Mine is also yes. And I think only as long as it's appropriate, where I think just the market trends are right there. And I was just talking to some of the phenomenal people at Brooks where they're going, even our, our glycerin, that stuff is getting into that level. And then now they have a glycerin max, for example, that is definitely sitting in that 47 millimeter stack height. I think having that they're naturally going to go that way. Do they need to get up into that 45, 46, 47 millimeter heel height? No, I think you should stay right at that 40 millimeter ish area, and that's totally fine to be a little bit above. And there's a lot of trainers that are doing that. But if you're going to start getting much higher than that, I think you are starting to really and somebody can disagree with me because they've already deviated away from where they used to be. But I think when you start getting that much higher, there's a lot of geometry changes that might take the shoe away from it being a signature trainer. And so I think that's where you can have these more maximal versions. Like we just got to see at TRE, even though we weren't there, although we'd seen these on the internet, the Pegasus Premium, the Vomero Premium, we've already been talking about the Glycerin Max from Brooks and all these other shoes. So I think there's another category now that being in this area a little bit above is fine. Does it need to get way above? No, that's where that separate category can be. So you don't necessarily start blending too much. So a yes, but within reason, not bleeding into other category. Although I'm sure that'll happen as we progress, or things will swing the other way. Who knows what's going to happen? Sweet. All right. Next, buy or sell. Nike is no longer the leader of super racing shoes. We want to clarify the original comment was super shoes. We're going to clarify super racing shoes. David, what do you think?
Yeah, I can interpret this wording in two ways, because when you say the word leader, it implies leading and kind of being first up and being kind of the front runner on things, and people are looking at you. And I would argue that this is a sell for me. And it's not because other companies don't have, product that matches up to Nike. There's actually several super shoes out this year that I will take over the Nike super shoes. But I do think Nike has done a very good job of being kind of the first one to swing. Like Alphafly released right in January last year. Like they always find ways of timing their releases to where everybody's looking at them, and I think when you look on the feet of people at these races, you're seeing more of the other companies now, but you're still seeing way more Nike than you're seeing of the other companies. And I think they still kind of have that edge from whether it's the marketing standpoint or the purchasing standpoint. I think people associate Nike with performance. And for many years, they were the gold standard for performance running shoes. I think the playing field's much more level, but are they still the leader? I do think they are.
Okay, just for disagreement purposes, I'm going to say I buy that, even though Beaverton is in my backyard. Nike people, if you're listening, I'd love to come hang out. I used to do lots of long runs around your campus back when I grew up in Portland. You guys are awesome. Guys, gals, and people. I'm going to say buy because I'm going to go with the comment that I think the playing field has been leveled, not with everyone, but with a couple brands. I think a great example of this is On. The Cloud Boom Strike really blew me away as a really awesome shoe that I think for a variety of reasons, not necessarily better, but a good alternative to a shoe like the Alphafly, the Endorphin Elite, and obviously Endorphin Elite 2, which you and I have tried on, but we haven't gotten to test extensively. I'm allowed to say that now, right? Since it's all over the place, right?
Is it all over the place? If it's all over the place, we're probably cool.
All right, we're going to be all right. We have not run it extensively. We know it exists. That can't tell you why. But the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2 is another great example of shoes that just show you like, yes, this is like really doing well. You have alternatives to this. Vaporfly is a great shoe. I think it's still a phenomenal, in my opinion, shorter distance shoe for a lot of people. I think you've got companies like Asics who are crushing it with the Endorphin Edge. I think I even brought this up here for the viewers. You got 361 dropping a banger with the Miro, which is insane. I think, and Adidas is also coming into their own. The Endorphin Pro 4 is a phenomenal update.
Adidas Pro.
I mean, gosh. Sorry, I still think it was the Adios Pro 4. Oh my gosh. The Adios Pro 4 is a massive performance improvement. I think it might not do as well with the recreational runner. But for like your higher level athletes, it's definitely aggressive. Adidas also putting out some really interesting stuff, and there's a lot of cool stuff to come from them in their performance line. So I think the playing field has leveled. I think still the Alphafly 3 is the Alphafly is still going to be a gold standard. The Vaporfly is going to be a gold standard, but I think a lot of companies are matching that. And I totally forgot to talk about the On Cloudboom Strike LS that we haven't tried with the new light spray upper.
But it's a Cloudboom Strike with light spray.
Yeah, with that upper, and it's coming in at like a little over 6 ounces or something like that. Like
pretty good.
That's pretty. Yeah. So you've got some stuff that's rivaling. I'm not necessarily going to say better, but it's different. So, which is good. It's good to have competition. Nothing against Nike. I still really like the Alphafly 3. There's some durability issues with me in that shoe. The Vaporfly is still a phenomenal shoe and rightly deserves to be on the feet of so many runners, especially high school, college runners. It makes total sense. But there's a lot of good options out there, and the playing field's been more leveled. So we will have to see who really makes the big move next to pull ahead. And I don't think I've seen that. I think, no offense, Saucony, you guys are really cool with the Incredible run and that stuff. I don't think it's enough to make a really big headway, but maybe because I haven't spent enough time in that shoe. Although that shoe scared me. When I put that on, I'm like, there's no way my ankles can handle this. Maybe David can. I mean, but we'll have to do that when we actually get it. I don't know, man.
My feet have been pretty sensitive lately.
I know. You need both. Gosh. All right. On to the next one. So buy or sell apparel brands entering the shoe market are a good thing. Example of this include Tracksmith, Rabbit, and most recently CEP, debuting a super trainer at TRE.
Another one, TYR.
That's right.
Yeah. I forgot that one when we were talking. Yeah.
I mean, and we haven't got to try their stuff. I'm super curious in their shoes. Haven't pulled the trigger yet. And if you guys are listening, we are interested. But yeah, buy or sell.
Yeah, I'm a buy. I don't like. Why not? They're companies, they make things, they're in the space, they have a name. Why not take a crack at making a shoe, And I know some of the reason, like, it's hard. Anytime someone does something new, you're always going to have people kind of talking about it. Is it actually going to be worth it? Why are you doing this? You're already established in other lanes. And I have no idea, with these companies and what their motives are and why they're doing it. But I can't help but feel like, it's almost always to expand the company, right? Like to create more revenue, do more things like that, whether it's from shareholder interest or not. Like, I don't know, our investors and stuff, but why not? If it's a dream and you want to do it and you want to have a shoe and you're an owner of an apparel company and you're like, let's do it. Like, yeah, go do it. Why not? Does it add another option in the market in an already saturated market? It sure does.
Yeah.
But
I like the logic here. We're already overfilling. Screw it. Just put another one in. What's the worst that happens?
Like, you want to make a shoe? Make a shoe.
Fine.
Go for
it.
Do it. Yeah. And it might hit home for a few people, and if it does, then that's great. Now they have they have an option and they have a shoe that they really like. So
yeah.
Is the market saturated already? There's a crap ton of shoes out there. Yeah.
There's the buy and sell we'll have on this in just a second. That will overdress this more. But I'm with you. Why not? I mean, for those that don't know, we've been around long enough, and I certainly, even before Dogster Running, got to know the running industry really well. And it is, and I mean this not in a weird way, one of the most incestuous industries I've ever known. Where it's like we'll be talking to somebody, and then like 2 months later, going, what are you doing over here? They're at a completely different company. Like, what are you doing? Like, oh, I just moved. I got bored, or I want a pay raise. So the easiest way to get a raise is go work somewhere else, and they just move around. And it keeps things really interesting. Some people are pretty stable, but that's, and especially in like PhD biomechanics world, but you're talking like people that are like product line managers and like
Mhm.
developers and stuff like that. People move, right? They have different things that they want. And some of those people end up at apparel companies that have skills in footwear. And I say, why not? You got the resources, you got somebody wanting to do it, go for it. Like, I'm gonna be honest that I didn't get to try it. I'm interested in I've never actually tried any Tracksmith gear. I'm really interested in the Tracksmith runner, although I don't think it would probably work with my mechanics. And I'm super interested in the Tracksmith Elliott Racer. It looks pretty sweet, right? Like they make good looking stuff. It looks cool. I'm interested. I'm interested in that Super Trainer from CEP, right? My wife loves their compression socks, and it looks interesting, and it looks like the cutouts are going to break my foot. So of course I'm super interested. I want to like put my foot in here. I want to see what happens. So, you know, they have some massive geometry cutouts in that shoe. Like, remember I would get on like Asics, for example, for having like a midfoot cutout or something like that. Like they went like, hey, remember like 1990? Let's go beyond that and see what happens. I'm just trashing. All right. Next question. Buy or sell, stability shoes are better now than they've ever been.
Yeah, that's a loaded one.
That's a hard question.
That is very, very hard one. Oh man.
So many pieces of this question.
I'm going to sell it.
Ooh, why? Let's hear.
I think it is better in terms of accommodating for the platforms that they're built on. But when you look at previous designs and what footwear used to look like, they were already kind of inherently stable, right? Like these platforms have gotten more and more unstable, so they've been requiring more and more stability mechanisms. So in that way, they have incorporated more and their stability is better, but the ultimate ending experience might actually be kind of similar from a quote unquote stability standpoint. A lot of the shoes before, thick outsoles, usually EVA midsoles, usually pretty firm, posted or not posted, whatever. But wide sole flares, like the stability shoes that used to exist they were pretty stable. Like I feel like they were. I think one of the reasons why we started talking so much about change and reform for stability was in response to the change and reform of footwear. And it's a loaded answer. So I think it's better, but the ending experience is probably similar. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's more work to create the same stable environment.
Ooh, I was unsure before. Now I'm even more unsure. So I'm going to talk this out. But so I don't have an answer yet, and I'm hopefully going to get there instead of just rambling. I think in some ways things are better. And one of the reasons we started talking about this is actually before a lot of this stuff happened. Stability shoes, when we started talking about this, were just dying in general. Like we were losing them. And so the question came up going, all right, for those who need stability, what other methods, what other resources do you have, right? Oh, look, there's a shoe that is in the neutral category, but it actually ends up being pretty stable. What mechanisms are allowing that? So for those who do need stability, who are desperately trying to find it as all these models disappear, rest in peace. Like all this, we have like two lighter weight, mild stability model, two lighter weight stability models left on the market. We have to have all these different options that are gone. Right. We don't have any stable racing shoes, or we don't have any stability racing shoes at all. Just some shoes that might be stable, neutral, and neutral. Stable is sometimes a slight exaggeration for some of them, just based on the design. So the current stability shoes, I think, are definitely better in the fact that they're less clunky. You and I love the GT 2013 and 12 are as a banger. They're both bangers. So like they've been great. You've got the Hurricane finally came back. There's some things that need to be redone and revised. I think mostly in the upper, which will hopefully be fixed by next year. And so we're seeing some cool stuff. But you're also seeing a massive decrease in the number of things. And a lot of these shoes are moving away from being true stability shoes as we redefine things, and they're becoming more of these like stable neutral shoes. You start to see more of a blend. So I'm going to be negative, and I'm going to say sell for the following reasons where, yes, are the stability shoes out there right now probably better than the past? Yes, they're going to accommodate a wider variety of foot types and stability needs. But for those with higher stability needs, you're screwed. Or not you're screwed. That's what I mean. But you're in trouble.
It's escalated
right?
so quickly.
You're kind of in trouble because even shoes like the Adrenaline, even shoes like the Keanu have less medial stability and they're more centered. And part of that's some of the research we've seen. But those are like, I really want like a lot of medial posting. Like, good luck. That doesn't really exist. You could try to find that in the Beast, but that's kind of one of the few. You might feel that in the Adrenaline, but even that's kind of lightening up a little bit. So, and then the other piece I think is I would say this was a buy if we still had variety, but we don't. I think the models are a little bit more limited unless you expand that into what you said, the stable neutral category, which is because so many shoes are so maxed that you have to make them stable or you'll literally roll off the platform. So outside the stability category, there's a greater diversity now of what's potentially available if you know what to look for. But within the stability category, I think the models are certainly better than what they used to be in terms of smoothness, guidance, all that stuff. But we just have less options for those that need true stability. And I think the lightweight category and certainly the racing, which is gone, is limiting things, which there used to be some sick stability racing shoes out there. They were sick. They were awesome. The fast switch was, and I'm going to use this term, and I think I'm going to blame you because I think I heard you say this first, but the fast switch was a banger. That was a great shoe. That was awesome. It had so many different iterations. The last one was so light and had just enough there. But I would have loved to see a super shoe version of the fast switch. I would have loved to see a super shoe version of the DS Racer.
That's what I was going to say.
I don't know why.
I would love to see a DS Racer in a modern package.
Dude,
like that would be
so cool.
That'd be lit. Like,
yeah. Lit. That's the phrase I should use.
Even if it wasn't like for like even if it ended up being like a workout shoe to a super shoe, like that would still be a probably awesome workout shoe. But it would be a racing shoe for a lot of people, I'm sure. It'd be kind of like Yeah,
that's fine. Like the Adidas Tempo, for example, which wasn't supposed to be a racing shoe.
Yeah,
but
no,
a lot of people,
that's a great example.
A phenomenal shoe that was like on the lighter side, mild stability. You could totally use it for tempo, like workouts and stuff like that. And a lot of people racing
R.I.P.
it. Yeah, there's like
I know so many people that loved that shoe.
That was like it was the stability version of the Boston,
right?
Basically, and then it deviated and just died. So I think the models that are present in the stability world are doing better. But overall, stability shoes, we don't have what we once had. And I think the market still wants that. And I'm going to give this example because this is out there. And the reason I know this is because I saw it in Nike's diversifying their models. They're going to add 2 stability models, which is nuts, right? So they have, the Pegasus, the Peg Turbo, and the Pegasus Premium. Well, the Vomero is going to have a similar setup, and so is the Structure. And I think that's great that it's going to create this like this 3x3 thing of like some options, maybe a little bit lighter shoe, which, I'm really hoping, and it sounds like there's going to be a Nike stability model with Zoom X in it. I'm like, let's go. Let's get a stability Peg Turbo or Peg Plus, Pegasus Plus, and have it be more responsive than the current one. But let's go. Let's give a little more variety because the variety is dead. And I think for that reason, I'm a sell. Not saying things aren't doing well, but overall. Man, I soapbox that. My bad.
Nah, you're good. We're on a podcast, bro.
Yeah, that's true. That's why we do this. All right, next one. Buy or sell. There are still many voids in the running market to be filled.
Sheesh.
I mean, I just talked about the like stability racing tempo stuff. That's a big one. And it used to be big, and then they just killed it. And I think people are yearning for that. At least, I mean, I'm biased, but what do you think, David?
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? I mean, it's hard to say that there's many voids to be filled when you look at just the sheer number of shoes that exist and are being made, right? Like, it's hard to say like, oh no, we need an entirely new category, or you guys need to look at all of these things. So I'm actually going to the question is that there are more voids. Yeah. So then I'm going to be,
there are still many voids.
Still many. Keyword being many. And I'm going to be a sell on that. I think outside of that lightweight, like performance category for the stability, that lightweight stability performance shoe, trainer, racer, whatever we want to call it. Yeah, RIP to the Tempo. I'm still I don't know how it fluttered into the back of the remnants of my brain. Yeah, that shoe was a banger. That was good.
DS Trainer too.
DS Trainer and DS Racer. If those came back, that could be
should we just do an RIP mild stability fast shoes episode?
We could just do an RIP episode.
Dude, we should do an RIP episode.
Bring Andrea on. She could just talk about the Beacon.
She's going to talk about the Beacon the whole time. That's going to be
we're going to get a 40-minute rant about the Beacon. It'd be great. It'd be perfect.
All right.
Sorry. You know another one. Adidas Hagio. Do you remember that shoe?
Was that a stability model?
It wasn't, but it was a pretty stable flat
you mean
for a cross country, a racing shoe. You could make an argument that was
that was definitely legit.
One of the most stable, lower profile racing shoes out there.
I wouldn't say it's stable because I can't remember the name of it, but Adidas did actually have a mild stability shoe at that stack. I can't remember what it was called, and that's going to drive me nuts. They also had one that was a 4-foot stability shoe. Asics did too. I actually ran a half marathon in it, not knowing what I was fully running in.
Think about that.
What was that called? There's a photo of me running the Pasadena half marathon in it.
From Asics?
Yeah. It was a Japan only model though. So that was one of those. New Balance too. They actually had some Japan only series of mild stability racing shoes that had posting. But all right, let's get back to the voids.
Yeah.
We're all talking about
I'm a sell on the many voids.
Yeah.
I think that's a category that could be expanded on, and
Yeah.
I think there are enough people that would appreciate that.
Yeah.
But keyword being many, there's so many things out there. The companies are working hard to try and get people as much product as they can. They're keeping tabs on the trends in the markets, and I don't know if there's really that many voids, that need to be explored. I think it's more just refining the categories that already exist and continuing to improve, which every company is going to be trying to do. So,
yeah, I would hope so. This will go into our next buy or sell, but I am totally a sell with you that I think there's 1 or 2 voids that need to be filled. The stability one, obviously, is we're spending a lot of time talking about it. The stability, racing, lightweight stuff. But outside of that, if you name a category, you're going to find something. There's still minimalist stuff out there. There's still more moderate stack height stuff, which is it's not as much as it used to be, but you can still find it. It still exists out there. Your higher stack height daily training, it's out there. Your super racing shoe, it's out there. Your older style, more minimal super racing shoe, that's still out there. The Asics Hyperspeed models are still out there and selling actually pretty well. I should get the new one and we should get the new one reviewed.
Ooh, that would be a good comparison. Hyperspeed, because I just had the Vaporfly come in.
Oh, that's a great one.
That would be a really solid comparison between the two.
Yeah,
they were both around the same price point, right?
So Vaporfly, which you can talk about at some point, is another hey, that's out there for that more lighter, lower, more moderate to lower stack rate, faster shoe, that's out there. Your super stack shoe, that's out there. Your super trainer, your super racer, that's out there. Your moderate stack height with super foam or with an EVA, your trail shoe, your lower trail shoe, your higher, your super trail shoe, your technical, your all this stuff. Those there's a lot of your athleisure shoe, which we'll talk about in a second. That stuff is all out there. I think what brands need to do instead of looking for more voids to fill, other than the stability one, is really refine the categories that already are there and refine the products that are there without making 50 billion ones and confusing consumers. So do what you do well instead of making 1,000 models all the time. And I think that goes into our next question, is that it's hard, buy or sell, David, it's harder now than ever before to select a shoe for a new runner.
1,000%. That's a buy.
Yep.
Yeah. That's probably that's probably the hardest buy on this list. Where it's I can't tell you, especially now, I feel like we are in an era where the run club is exploding everywhere. It used to be like the local run club used to be kind of
Can I take this?
Yeah, go for it. Well, you're in Portland. There's probably 30, 40 run clubs.
I've told this before, and Regina and I are in Sherwood, so we're a ways out from Portland, but we occasionally make our way down there. There's hundreds of run clubs in Portland. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of run clubs in LA, and just like everywhere. And I'm not opposed to like people getting together.
Let's say 10 years ago, was it just like LA Roadrunners and a couple local one-off ones?
Yeah, it'd be one
Pasadena
group like
Pacers.
LA. Yeah, even that. But most like quote
Snail's
run
Pace
groups were like a couple. Either you had your Snail's Pace, you had your like group of the recreation, but it was a big thing, and there weren't a lot of them. And then most small groups were a bunch of weirdos like you and me still trying to run fast. All these like 220, 230, 240 marathoners getting together to go hammer some crazy stupid run. Cause like my first like run group, like run club experience was when I was still working at Fit Right Northwest, which kudos to you if you know what that is, a local Portland running store that used to exist. Shout out to Rob Finnegan and Dave Sobolis, who are the owners. And I remember joining a couple dudes who were all like sub like 220, mid 220 marathoners. And we went to run up at Forest Park. And I had no idea what I was getting into. Just a group of probably like 10, 15 guys. And they went and hammered one of the like, I didn't know what we were doing. And we hammered this 20-mile run that ended as average 6-minute pace. And we were ending at like low fives. And I had no idea what was happening. And it like, that was like your run group. And now that's not what's happening. Now you have thousands of run groups that aren't people like that. You have a huge diversity of human beings. And unfortunately, and I'm probably going to catch some flack for this, there's some really great ones out there. And there's also some ones where it's like human beings. They're showing up to show off the newest shoe they have. They're, they took their Alpha Fly. It's a club. Yeah. It's a running club is what a lot of them are. And that can be great because it gets people out. It could be not great because people take their Alpha Fly 3 to an easy run, and their easy run starts off at like 6-minute pace. And, so it's a different thing. Oh my gosh, this was okay. That was a tangent. Yeah. Anyway,
a little bit, but
buy or sell, it's harder than ever to force like to shoot for a new runner. Oh my gosh. They're crazy. There's so many.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like we're kind of getting a resurgence of the sport, kind of like it was the 80s. Was that when it really kind of started booming 80s again in the US?
Jogging came about.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting a resurgence of that. There's so many people with the run clubs. There's this social aspect. Like you said, it was before. It was kind of the people that wanted to keep doing it, and there was a very intrinsic drive to be like, I want to be as good as I can at this.
Right.
And that was kind of the driver. There were some community-based groups, but
they weren't
the majority. Like there's always been some, but I feel like almost every city now has multiple, more community-based, and it's like the whole thing, right? Meet at the brewing company, meet at the coffee company, meet at, and it's a whole thing, and it's literally like a social hour of running, and I think it's great. It gets people moving, and they're doing stuff, and it brings a lot of people together. But what it also brings is a lot of new runners. And it brings a lot of people that are completely brand new to even what the concept of running 3-4 miles even is. A lot of them, it's like, okay, you show up and run a 5K. And some of them have never run a 5K before. And now they're coming in and they're running. And okay, so now I need to get a shoe. And then they look and there's 70 shoes to choose from. And they're just like, okay, well, what's a good shoe? Tell me. Yeah. And it's like, well, it's not
literally every person at the run club is wearing a different shoe. And you have a sample size of like 70 to 100 people. And you're like, how is no one wearing the same shoe? Like what is going on? That must be so overwhelming.
Yeah. So I think that's more the lens that I'm coming at it from, where you just have, I think, a lot of new runners that have entered the space, and they're not necessarily in the competitive scene. They want to run. They want to be healthy. Right. They want to be social. It gets people out the door and moving. I'm all for it. But they also it's new. It's novel. It's overwhelming. It can be, at least when you go to start looking at product to use or tools to use for what you're doing.
And I think, it's also because we have more product than ever before. We were talking about the last question. Are there many voids? Like, no, outside of like the one we keep talking about,
I'd argue even apparel in that too. Cause like you said, you show up and everyone's wearing their nice running apparel. Like that's become a whole thing in itself too, right? Like 15 years ago, like no one cared what you were wearing. You were just running.
Yeah. Most people just put like, you get Target brand stuff. And if you're a little more serious, maybe you picked up something, you know, from a brand of the shoe that you liked, or you just happened to get at a race, or you desperately needed something.
Also, we got to bring back the Target brand. Is that still going?
I don't know. That's
they
a really
used to
good question.
have the running shorts, and like
they did.
Yeah, like, and they weren't bad. I that's what I worked out in and ran in for all of my runs up until college. That was solid.
This is a TMI, but I'm going to share this anyway. Before I knew anything about running, I had a lot of Target brand shorts, and I didn't understand what that inner liner was, and I didn't have the, how do I say this?
Oh no!
Correctly?
Should we reroute this?
I didn't have the durability to tolerate. I also didn't know what it was for, so I would cut it out and then wear underwear underneath until somebody finally, after years, was like, you know, you don't need to wear underwear because it has a liner. And I'm like, what the hell is a liner? I'm like, oh, the thing I'm like cutting in half. And then I was working at FitRite when I realized I was working at a running store when I realized this. I'm like, oh, dude, I need to stop doing that. And then actually try something that has a liner, and that didn't go well because it chose the wrong shorts that didn't have a good liner that matched me. And then finally figured it out. And shout out to Brooks, first company that made comfortable running shorts that did not chafe at all. And I still remember that. Now I have a much wider variety because I've tested a lot more things and figured out what works for me. But that's a whole, we do doctors of split shorts.
There go.
Anyway, so yes, I'm totally a buy. Wow, this question went a little bit. I'm totally a buy that it's harder than ever before to select a shoe for a new runner. I'm still going to stand by that every new runner should stay in the traditional neutral trainer category. I think the tried and true shoes that have been there for years, I think that's where you should start. Your Asics Cumulus Nimbus, your Nike Pegasus Vomero, your Brooks Ghost Glycerin, your Saucony Ride Triumph, like all your Mizuno Rider.
Well, they kind of moved away from it because they went to Sky,
yeah.
But the Rider,
the Rider for sure. You know, all of those kind of more shoes that have been around that have a large number after them. That's where you should start. That's, you know, if you need some stability and you find that you've had some kind of history of that, your Asics GT, your Saucony Guide, your, whatever.
Yeah.
But your tried and true trainers is where all new runners should start. And then once you figure things out, then you can diversify. But you've got to get running experience. But most people don't listen to us, and most people don't. I mean, we did just hit 30K subscribers on YouTube, which is kind of a big deal. So I'll go back for that one. But, that's still a relatively small YouTube channel. So we're trying to get good information out. But when you talk about what you're talking about with like the run clubs and what people are actually seeing, what's being advertised them, whether it's from an actual company or those surrounding them, hey, you need an Alphafly, you need an Endorphin Elite, you need a Vaporfly, you need a Cloudboom Strike for your easy runs. That could be very confusing and very like a very weird stimulus to go from like wearing a pair of Vans to wearing a pair of like super, super racers. So I think,
and I can't tell you how many times I've heard as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but people that buy it because they hear it's the best running shoe on the market, right? That's just what they hear. That's the marketing. Oh, this is the best running shoe, so I just went and got it.
Yep.
So it's like you've never run before. Now you're just running in Alphaflys every run or Vaporflys or whatever. Like,
not understanding that these are tools and there's different tools for different types of runs, different types of runners. And, you need to find what's actually best for you where you are, but people just want the best shoe. And, that's everybody's going to be wearing a certain one and that's what they think. And then they're like, why does my hip hurt? Why does my back hurt? Why does my ankle hurt? It's like, because you're using a tool that's not appropriate for you. I'm going to keep using this analogy. You probably heard this on the podcast last week, but it's like I'm a terrible driver. I grew up in the Northwest, not to stereotype, but we typically drive a little slower. I've been in LA for a while, so you add driving a little slower with driving a lot faster, and you get this weird dual personality. But it's like, as a newer, not great driver, not newer, but a not great driver, I should not be driving a Maserati or a McLaren through a Costco parking lot. That's not the car I need to go shopping. Okay, I need a very specific track. I need experience. I need to work up to that kind of thing. But I just need my Honda Fit. That's all I need. It's
was
small.
thinking like
It's not the
Civic,
fastest thing.
Corolla.
Yeah, Civic Corolla.
Fit.
That's
Fit?
me.
That's what you.
Yeah, it's the car I have, but like a Civic, a Corolla.
You have a Fit?
Yeah, I have a Fit.
Is it the same car that when you were down here?
Yeah, drove it all the way up here.
I guess it is a Fit.
Yeah.
I don't know why
I had a Civic. You met me when I had a Civic.
No, you did have this. Yeah, it was
Civic.
blue, right?
Gray.
No, it was gray. Oh my goodness.
Probably looked blue because it was so bashed
both of our
up.
memory has gone to crap.
See, look, it was blue because it was bruised with how badly I treated that poor car.
No, an old coach of mine had a blue Civic. Yeah, you had a gray Civic. I remember now.
My car was bruised. Running it into things.
That was a long time ago now. Dang.
That was a long ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
That we were dating ourselves on that one. But yet I don't need a Ferrari or a McLaren or one of those cars to do like daily shopping or my daily commute. That's not appropriate for the tool that I need. And I think shoes are similar to that. If I was going to go to a racetrack and I was going to start taking driving more seriously and I was really going to start training that would make, if I had the funds or if I had the abilities, that might make sense. Maybe I might try a little more sporty car first and not go to the absolute all out. But you need to find a tool that's most appropriate for you. And I don't think necessarily the quote unquote best is necessarily the best for the new runner for sure. So I'm going to stand with the buy on that because of the marketing, because of the pressure, because of social media, what people see, instead of the old, hey, I'm going to go to a local running store and just try some stuff on and see what works. Or I'm going to go to Dick's Sporting Goods and just try the new runner shoes, the daily trainers, and just see what's comfortable and get used to this sport. Nice. That was oh my God, that was like 8 buy or sells.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah. All right.
Although, wait, I'm going to add a little bonus. It's not a buy sell. Well, I guess in the event you were just doing a run club and they were meeting at a place, what kind of place would you want them to meet at that you're going to be hanging out afterwards? A little bonus question there.
This is very biased, but a running store.
Oh, hey, I mean, there are. Well, Run Republic. Shout out Run Republic. Don't they
Shout out Run Republic.
Yeah.
Foot Traffic does this as well.
Running Center. Redlands has done that a couple times too.
I believe Portland Running Company also does this, just to shout out all the locals. I think local running stores is a cool place to be because then you got some, if you need anything's right there.
I got to give a shout out to Deckers has done that. They started doing that.
Sweet.
Aaron Potts, shout out Aaron, has started some of that, and they've been doing a great job with getting that moving.
Also, David, I gotta like pick your brain. We got some people that that we should get on the podcast at some point.
Yeah.
Thinking about that.
Definitely.
All right. Last question, last buy or sell. Do you want to do this one?
Sure. Yeah. This one's a little bit of a two-part, it's kind of more generic.
Yeah.
But this next buy sell is going to be this idea of crossover shoes and then this idea of athleisure type lines coming into the running market. And so what we mean by that, when we look at a crossover shoe, and I think it's probably the most clear with Hoka in this last year, they made the Transport and the Transport X. But you also have some of the shoes from On as well, and how they are marketed as with, like, let's say the Cloud Swift being like a quote unquote urban runner commuter kind of shoe. You have your Cloud Flow, the Cloud X, the regular On Cloud, like these shoes that you can be active in, but like they're still kind of leaning towards the casual wear. Another one that's kind of coming up, another Deckers brand, Anu. And then we kind of brought up, kind of when we were spitballing and brainstorming, Adidas Ultra Boost, to some degree Nike Free, because you just don't really see that in a quote unquote running space anymore. But it's still out there and people still wear it, and you can still do things in it. So some people are still running in it. So it's kind of like this crossover commuter kind of everything little shoe.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest running in the newest models, but that's a thing,
but that's kind of the whole idea.
People do
of this, And then the other one, the athleisure lines. So like your Vioris, your Lululemons, Athletas, those types of companies. I have Patagonia written down here. I feel like they've been in the trail running world just like long enough to where I feel like they don't really fully count there. But yeah, these companies that are starting to like, okay, there's a market in the running space. Let's figure out a way to bridge that gap. And if you are in the running space, let's figure out a way to bridge that gap to be in the regular kind of commuter walking type, everyday casual wear type market.
Right.
So buy, sell on those becoming a market in the running sphere.
I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily have an opinion, to be honest, because I don't see anything wrong. I'm going to approach this from a footwear standpoint. The apparel part, I have like I'm a buy for, just because why not? Apparel's something that people fit so differently, even more like the body and the proportions are even more complex than running shoes. So I think why not? If you can create a space, go for it. Like there's a lot of stuff like that. There's a lot. I think there's probably more apparel brands than they're even remotely close to footwear brands. Like there's tons out there. So if you want to jump in that market, go for it, right? You are going to need to create a name and a community, which I think some companies have actually done super, super, super well in terms of creating that culture around it. I think Hoka and On are two that have really done a great job of like going, hey, now we also make apparel. Like, let's actually create a culture around this. And I think they've done very well. So you see them so popular, not just about I don't running isn't probably their biggest market share. Their probably biggest market is the athleisure or just the walking stuff, just because I see them everywhere. Hoka and On are probably the most common. Like if I'm going to Costco, which I'm just saying this, I went there today. That's the most common thing I'm going to see on people's feet. I can't tell you how many Cloud Monsters I saw in Costco. Yeah. Like I saw tons that we were talking about the On Cloud. Next, I saw a ton of Cloud Flows. I saw a ton of Hoka Transports. I saw a ton of Hoka Bondies, obviously. Saw a couple Brooks, which is probably the next one there. Yeah.
That's a great point. They're making suede Bondis. They're making like that's becoming a thing, right? That is a lifestyle brand for a running shoe.
So actually, I'm going to put my foot down and say that I buy this for the reason from a PT standpoint, not from a foot geek, because a lot of the shoes out there are smoking garbage and they're not great. They're not developed with like actual walking mechanics in mind. They're developed with people look at like just going, oh, this looks cool, which I'm not judging, but with what I see on a daily basis, I'm like, I don't want to have to see as many patients because I care about people and I don't want their feet to hurt. So I don't see anything wrong with the footwear models being made into athleisure shoes because I already know they've been better researched and better developed. So and it's what I wear too. Like I way prefer walking around in athletic shoes for casual wear. A leather Bondi, I don't have one, but a leather Bondi makes total sense to me. A Hoka Transport, like shoes that I know have some biomechanics gone into them, 100% with this. And that's going to be the major market share, honestly, for a lot of these companies more than running. So I'm a definite buy on this stuff because it means that people are wearing inherently better designed footwear, which I think is great, which I hope means that people have more comfort. They do better. Whether it does or not, I don't know. Apparel stuff, I don't know. Why not? But I'm curious to hear your take on like, what do you think? Because the apparel stuff, I don't know. I'm not as fashionable. I just wear whatever I have or I wear On because On caught me and I'm now like
I'd argue
an
On-apparable
person.
Kind of in there.
They definitely are, but I'm just saying that's like, I either wear whatever we've gotten or wherever I have, or I wear On stuff that I picked up off eBay or their like online sale rack, which we were talking about. But what do you think? Buy or sell on this stuff? I'm a buy.
Yeah. I'm a buy on both. I think it's kind of a fun category. And I do think, I used the word bridge earlier.
That was a good word.
Semi-intentionally. Yeah. Mainly because it was a dichotomy. It's a lifestyle shoe, leather, low to the ground, flat, whatever. Like or it's a suede, like the kind of skate shoe type thing that you would picture, or a street shoe on someone, or even let's say, a dress shoe even. And that line is getting much more muddy. And I think for the better. Like you said, there's a lot more options out there for people and things that are a lot more comfortable that you can stand and walk in for hours. If you're going to Disneyland and you want to wear something that still is functional, but it looks good, like those shoes do a pretty good job of that. And I can think of a couple of trips now specifically where I have worn the Cloud Runner 2. I like walking in that shoe. I took that with me to Anaheim, when we did go to Disneyland, case in point. I've taken the Transport X with me to New Mexico for the same reason. I'm going to be walking and doing things. I'm going to the Balloon Fiesta. I'm going to be on my feet a lot, but I still want to be able to walk and do things. And then like I can still run in the shoe. if I need to. And if I can only pack one shoe and I know I'm not going to be running fast, then I can take a shoe that can do a little bit of everything and still have it look aesthetically pleasing, or relatively aesthetic. Like, that's always depending on the person, whether something is quote unquote aesthetically pleasing, but, or even something like an Ultra Boost, like I think they did a great job of getting themselves in the fashion market. And then they kind of had to dial it back where they're like, okay, we're getting a little too far into that lane. We got to keep some running roots here. And now they've kind of pulled hard, like with the Ultra Boost Light and those types of shoes, like, which are good running shoes. Like I liked that shoe. So now it's another shoe that you can use for multiple uses. So I'm all for it, I think it's great. As far as the apparel goes, I think it's great too. It's more options. A lot of those companies are already putting out good apparel for whatever their respective uses were before. They're using nice materials. It feels good. I'm not going to lie. The racing singlet that I had made, shout out Greggy Tahara, for the Doctors of Running and Blue Collar Running singlet that I have, that's a Lulu singlet. Like my racing singlet is a Lululemon singlet. And I did some trial and error around on the market to see, companies that were making relatively blank and not busy designs so that I could have something put onto it. And from a price, comfort, everything standpoint, like I actually ended up going with that singlet, and that's what I preferred. And so that's what I ended up going through with on the order there. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good. And then also, like, if you want to run and eat tacos afterward, like if you're meeting up at a taco place for your run club, you can still look good, run and look good in what you're eating. I'm not gonna lie, I've actually I've hit some hard long runs and tempos in that Viore pocket tee that I have. I've had that thing for years now. So it's fun. It's like it's running apparel, but it looks it just looks a little bit more casual.
I like the stuff that Run Rabbit has, for example, or
they have some great stuff.
I'm forgetting the other brand's name. That they have some really nice of the High Country, which is a favorite, which
that's pretty much.
Yeah, well, right. I did. Oh, yeah. So I wear that stuff to teach all the time, and the students have no idea that I'm technically wearing running apparel. And then if I need to get a run in really quick, I just have running shorts underneath, go for a run, don't have to change a shirt, just go right into it. So I've been doing that for years. It is awesome.
And it's a great crossover. That's another great example there where it's a shirt that you can wear casually and it looks very casual.
Dude,
you're like, okay, let me go rip a 10-mile run in this thing.
Okay, I'm gonna go back on what I said. A void that needs to be filled is the semi-professional apparel that also is running apparel. So I can make sure that we have professional clinic, I can go do a presentation somewhere, and then all I have to do is change it into shorts or something, and I'm ready to go. Or I could just run in a suit or so. I know there's a company out there that does that, but I want to see more of that, of the business up top, short shorts below,
right.
I want to see that. But hope that episode was interesting for you, because that went some very interesting. We thought this was going to be short. We thought 20, 30 minutes tops. And here we are, 50 plus minutes. So there's another buy and sell episode. We really hope you enjoyed this. As always, please comment below if there's any thoughts or responses you have. We do take our best effort to try to read them. We don't always get a chance to respond, because this is one of the many things we do on top of working professionally in at least one job, if not many. And so we enjoy this. We are sometimes a little slow. You can always email us. A lot of this stuff is always inspired by those who are asking questions. And we do have our mailbag episodes that we do as frequently as possible, try to respond and get you good information. If you want to try to find more on us, there's always the different spots. Obviously, as I said, our YouTube just hit 30K. So you can go check out a lot of our content there. There's also lots of things on social media, including on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. And of course, the OG for all this stuff is going to be on the website. We're going to see the majority of new content, be it reviews, be it Monday shakeouts, and links to all the different stuff that we are doing and trying to understand more about the things we put on our feet. One of the big things that we hope you take away from this is the fact that we really care about what is happening to you. We hope this information is helpful, and we hope it helps you make better decisions about what you're putting on your feet.